Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a podcast. Today, we're just two hosts today. It's me, Jason, and the other is.
Griffin most.
And today, we'll be bringing you a very short and quick podcast, hopefully, to recap our victory over the Maryland Terrapins last weekend and also preview against our away matchup in Evanston versus the Northwestern Wildcats, along with other discussion topics like the Big Ten West, the Gopher team itself, and other sports. So to get started, Griffin, how much did we win by last week?
Oh God, what was it? 34 to 16. So is that 18?
Yeah, and that's a game where I think all of us predicted a one score win, and that's like three scores right there. Um, but no, it was. I'd say watching the game, this wasn't a game, Griff, where I was pulling my hair out. Like and during Nebraska, right? I was pulling my hair out on what maybe one side of the ball of our team is doing. But this is the one game I can honestly say, offense, defense, and most special teams played like what we expect this team to be. Like our offense just ran the ball on the ground on them, chewing clock. I think 37 minutes off the clock total. Tanner, he didn't throw much. It was only 8 for 12, so that's a high completion percentage for only 125 yards. But like he stayed clean, no interceptions, no fumbles as well from his end. O line played dominantly. Defense just had at it with Tolia getting that fumble in the opening drive, making him flustered and uncomfortable. Um, you know, it was a great day to be a Gopher, if I'm being quite honest.
No, you're completely right. I would agree with your pulling your hair out statement about 98% of the time. The only time was the first quarter for me, where after forcing a turnover, we can't score points. Like that just pisses me off beyond belief. I'd say that's the only thing the Gophers need to get better at. But yes, overall, like the play calling was great. Well, for the most part, Tanner didn't throw a ball the last 20 minutes of game clock. Like we just
True.
kept and getting first downs, which is all we needed. Like you said, it was basically 40 to 20 in time of possession. We basically gave up the touchdown at the end as a here's some sympathy points, give us the ball back so we can run the clock out. Like
Yep.
that was an outstanding performance, mostly by our offensive line and our running backs. But I also want to give a shout out to Connor Olson for making that school record 50-second start.
52 starts.
Like that's absolutely incredible and good for him. And I can't wait to have him finish out the season with us with all those starts.
Yeah, kudos to him. But no, I think it was a great game. So let's get into stats then. Let's look at the box score, Griff. Um, so Tanner Morgan, we already mentioned it, was 8 for 12, 125 yards with 10.4 average. Again, solid day for Tanner. In terms of rushing, our lead rusher was our true freshman or redshirt freshman running back, Kai Thomas, who had 21 carries, 139 yards with one touchdown. Behind him was Bucko Irvin, who had 15 carries for 105 yards. So he, as a true freshman, made his first 100 yard game and scored his first touchdown too. Bryce Williams had 13 carries for 48 yards for one touchdown. Our Wildcat quarterback, Cole Kramer, had 5 carries for 30 yards, making one touchdown as well in the red zone. And Tanner had a design quarterback run for one carry for 5 yards. And then I think we did lose a yard by one of the running or a potential sack. But overall, running backs feasted at 326 yards of total offense on the ground alone.
You know it's a good day when your second leading rusher still has more rushing yards than Maryland's entire team that included 4 rushers. Credit to the Gopher defense on there. Credit to
Kenny
Boye.
Burns.
Oh yeah,
Kenny
that too.
Burns.
Kenny Burns is I don't even know, a god, for lack of a better term. Him and Joe Rossi, like, I want them here long term. What do we got to do?
No, because looking at quick stats, Maryland's rushing was only at 79 yards the entire game. And right now, with that game in the books, the Gopher defense, so led by transfer Jack Gibbons from Abilene Christian, with Mario Marion, Jordan Howden, T-Time, Assezi, Coney Durr, Thomas Rush, Justin Wally, Niles Pickney, Braylon Oliver, MJS, and like all those guys that I can't list all of them because there's just, amazing players in their own facets during the last couple of seasons, are the top 5 rushing defense in the nation. And we were like, I think, ranked 102nd in FBS last season. And remember, there's 130 FBS programs. So we were very, very low on the totem pole and needed to be to skyrocket ourselves in the top 10 into those stats. So, our rushing defense is amazing.
Yeah, and there's a stat out there by PFF that had something on Boye Mafe, and I think it had to do something with pressures on 3rd and 4th down. And that is of no surprise, I think, to anybody. Our whole defense, just in general, because we're the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, a lot of our players will fly under the radar.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, but I don't want to neglect our wide receivers, though. I do want to make some keynotes on them. Mike Brown-Stevens was actually our 2 top receivers had the same amount of yards. In this case, Mike Brown-Stevens took the lead with only 1 reception for 35 yards. Crab had 4 receptions for 35 yards. Bucko actually had 1 reception for 28 yards, being involved in the passing game. Kieft had that 21-yard catch when Tanner was flushed out of the pocket and just made that throw down the sideline. And then Brady Boyd was also 1 catch for 6 yards as well. So even though we only had 125 yards of total receptions, yard-wise, I'd say it was a good day for our receivers too. Even though they didn't play much, they know their routes, they know how to get separation, and just made things easier for Tanner. And I just enjoy seeing that, even though it was mainly a rushing attack kind of day, but our receivers still balled out, and only having 4 incompletions as well.
Yeah, I think it's okay to sometimes neglect the receivers in a podcast when because everyone knows how good our receivers are or how good they can be, and their ceilings are still so high. But there's just something so great about having your one scheme that everybody knows you are literally going to run, and yet you still just absolutely dominate them. Like, there were holes everywhere. It's almost like every rushing play there wasn't a hole. And I mean, one thing PJ wanted when he got here was a better offensive line, and here we are.
And a lot of our experience too. I hate to say it, Griff, I don't want to see Daniel Faalele go. I don't want to see Blaze Andrews go, Connor Olson, or Axel Rushmeyer. The Minnesota Moving Company right now is the most stable we've ever had in a very, very long time. Very experienced. They're big. They can get physical. And not just that, the depth behind them. Because remember, I think it was Axel Rushmeyer and a couple other guys were rotating in last season because guys were off of COVID, or in this case, Curtis Dunlap Jr. had an ACL tear, and Daniel Faalele opted out for the season. So it was literally just only Blaze Andrews, Connor Olson, John Michael Schmidt rotating in and out as best they can. And if they were on COVID tracking, they were off the team, at least for that game too. So man, I love this offensive line. They played so physical, and certainly they bounced back very, very well since the Bowling Green fiasco a few weeks ago. So I'm glad the offensive line is getting way much better. They know what they're doing now. They better communication as well at the line of scrimmage, and that's going to be very crucial in the stretch coming up for Big Ten play for the remainder of the season. Anything else to cover for this game for Maryland? Any tidbits, notes?
The I mean, the only other like comment I have is like I can see how talented their receivers could be, just the ones that played. But again, our defense not giving Tagovailoa enough time to even sometimes make a good read. But
Yep.
I mean, you watch them run routes, you watch them off the line of scrimmage. You can see that their potential is up there. But I mean, I'll take your wide receiver 3 as your wide receiver 1 for that game if that's the case, because I want to win.
Yep. I will also note this too. The Terrapins had a bad day with penalties too. They had 8 flags called on for 79 yards for this game. A lot of there's like they had like one major one was a illegal substitution during a punt where 2 players of the same number were on the field. Number 99 was a big one. So to talk a little bit about Maryland, they're 4-3 right now, and they don't have a favorable schedule moving ahead because they are in the Big Ten East. Do you think Mike Locksley could get bowling or bowl eligibility? Probably.
Oh man, we got to look here.
Because so their next game this Saturday is Indiana, and I'm going to give them the dub for that. But then they have number 20 Penn State, who just lost in 9 overtimes to Illinois at Happy Valley. So Penn State's going to play with a vengeance. Then they got number 8 Michigan State, the number 6 Michigan, and remember, Michigan State and Michigan plays this Saturday so essentially someone's not going to be undefeated, and then they play Rutgers last. So I think they can get bowling if they beat Indiana and Rutgers, but I won't be surprised if Indiana and Rutgers put up a fight and like make Maryland go maybe 4-8 at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think they could go bowling, but it's again those kind of like you mentioned, the games that they could win is going to be Indiana and Rutgers, and that's if they were to win. But I see if they win Indiana and then lose the next 3 to Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan, there's still a team that I could see at. Okay, sure, they could be a team that tries and they'll have all their starters in because they want to get that 6th win to go bowling.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they just kind of give up at the end of the season? It's like, well, we're going to Detroit or the Red Box or the Pinstripe Bowl. Like, who cares?
I don't. Is it still a Quick Lane Bowl? Because I don't see it on the Big Ten Bowls list.
For this event. Gosh, I don't know. We should.
I'll dig. I'll dig for it while we move on to the next piece. But yeah, our crew knows people that are from Maryland. They go to school. They were they see Maryland in a favorable light, and I just feel bad for them. Like, come on, guys, like Maryland, you can play better than this. So hopefully they go bowling, make their fans out. Because I don't think they've been bowling in a very long time, as well. So give them a chance to go, and their marching band. Those people are nice. I will say that. But anything else, or you want to move on to our next matchup?
Now let's move on.
All right. So next, hey everyone, I have to interject here. Unfortunately, Griffin and I's conversation to preview Northwestern did not turn out the way we wanted to. Unfortunately, my audio on my mic right here muted itself. I don't know how. I think I did it when I took a drink of water through that conversation. So essentially, the last, I say 2/3 of the podcast did not go through in the original recording. So here is a quick recap from our end. So essentially, the Golden Gophers will be playing at Evanston, near the Chicago area, against the Northwestern Wildcats, led by head coach Pat Fitzgerald. Their team overall is 3-4 overall, record-wise, and 1-3 in conference play, which is 6th place in the Big Ten West. The game will air on Big Ten Network on Saturday, October the 30th at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time or 3:30 Eastern. Right now, on ESPN, their Football Power Index, or FPI, has the Gophers favored by 67% versus 33% for the Wildcats, with Vegas odds sitting at -7.5 favoring the Gophers, with over-under being at 43.5 overall. So looking ahead, Griffin and I did discuss that right now we do have a couple of names on that Northwestern defense that we are a little worried about, but still it's a really different defense than past years. Again, a lot of them have either have graduated or moved on to other programs, so it's not the same defense from 2020 and 2019, but they're still pretty solid. So it's not an opponent that you don't want to, look over. We got to take this team seriously, because looking ahead, right now the Gophers are still first in the Big Ten West, tied with Iowa, and Wisconsin does have a matchup this Saturday as well. So we walk away with the win, and fingers crossed that Wisconsin takes the win, that bumps Iowa and Wisconsin to be tied at second after this weekend. But looking ahead, we're excited with this matchup against the Wildcats. Again, not an opponent you want to overlook. They can run the ball well. Their quarterback is okay. Typically leading on the run game, but did lose to Michigan last week, 7-33, but also beat Rutgers 21-7. So we'll see how next game pans out against the Wildcats. But as for some predictions, preseason, I said we would lose to the Wildcats. Let's see here. I said we will lose 21-24 against the Wildcats. But if we did win, I'll take 38-7. Griffin said we'll take the win for this game, looking how everything has gone week to week. And he'll take the Ghost 34-7. And then with a loss, 14-21. But that's pretty much the TLDR of what we talked about before I lost connection to my mic. But again, thank you so much for watching, everyone, today's podcast to recap Maryland and preview Northwestern. And we'll see y'all at the next podcast. And